We all have our expectations, ideas, theories, and fantasies of a relationship or how it should feel, progress, and that is why having certain conversations prior to defining a relationship is extremely important. If not, we might end up with two different relationships. The one we think we're having and the one our partner thinks we're having. You're welcome to this very exciting episode of Finding Love. I am Grace Renner. Finding Love is an insightful show that instills the right foundation for marriage with the understanding that marriage is God's idea. Now, it is a useful insight for anyone who is ready for the journey of marriage and desires to do it the way the Creator has designed it. On this note, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and then click the notification bell so that whenever I upload a video, you'll get a prompt. Okay, and then if you like this video, please tap the like button right now and I'll be right back. You're welcome back. Now, today we'll be talking about questions to ask before defining a relationship. Now, by defining a relationship, I mean before you guys start dating, courting, or become an item. Okay, so questions to ask. There are so many things to consider before you say yes to someone. Yes, in terms of, oh, I will date you, or even going ahead to ask this person out properly and say, let us be an item. Okay, so it's so important. These questions will help to define this relationship in terms of whether your relationship with this particular person is healthy for you or whether they're ready for the kind of relationship that you want. Now I spoke with a friend recently and he recently just got divorced. Now, what was the reason? He said, oh, his wife wasn't ready for the journey of marriage in the sense that she didn't know what being married entailed. Now, this thing now left me wondering and asking myself, what were they discussing all the while that they were dating? The problem is a lot of people do not ask questions. They do not, engage in certain conversations that would define what the relationship be about even before they say, okay, what are we? So asking what are we is not enough to define that you are someone's boyfriend or girlfriend or you are fiancé and fiancés. No, it is defining certain things in the relationship. For instance, your expectations and so on. I'm always talking about it. Always discuss your expectations, discuss things like your love language and things like that. So this today we'll be talking about certain questions to ask. So before I list these questions, now these questions I have put out are questions that you should first ask yourself before you ask your partner. Okay, so make sure that you answer the questions within yourself before you ask your partner. Now, number one, what are your expectations or their expectations? It's important to ask yourself, okay, what do I expect from a relationship? What do I expect from this, my partner to be? Okay, very important. Ask them also sometimes when people do not define their expectations in a relationship or before a relationship, it leads to them having lots of conflicts because people have different expectations. Your expectations might be different from their expectations. Okay, so when you both discuss it and have like an agreement, this would even further open your eyes to see if this is somebody that you want to be with, if it's someone you can be with, or if the expectations are something that you can actually meet up to. Okay, so it's very important. Now, what are these expectations? You can ask questions like, oh, are they looking to be married? It's important that you're not just dating someone for forever and there's no sign that they're going to be married, or you don't even know where the relationship is going. So instead of asking, oh, after 10 years, so please, where's this relationship going? No, from the beginning, ask them, are you looking to be married? That would even cue you into knowing whether they might be interested in getting married to you, or maybe they're just dating you for dating sake. So are you looking to be married? Would you like to have kids in future? What's your thought? No, I'm still coming to that, but what's your thought on sex in a relationship? Or what's your expectation? Or things like faithfulness. You can discuss it. Do you expect someone that is faithful? What do you expect from when you say we're dating? You expect me to be exclusive, to be faithful to you? How often should we talk on the phone? What should communication be like? Should I call you in the midnight? Can I call you daytime? Am I free to call you anytime? Or do you like public display of affection? Or would you like social media to be aware that we're an item? Maybe can I, is it okay to upload your picture on social media? Things like that. These are things that you should, so that if for any reason they're not meeting up to your expectations, or if they don't, maybe when they answer questions, you see that these things won't sit well with you. You know that, okay, this person might not be right for me, or oh, this person is right for me. So it's good to ask these questions. Ask what your expectations. Ask yourself, what are my expectations? And answer the questions, and you ask the person, what are your expectations? What do you expect of me in a relationship? Okay, so I've given you examples of questions that you can ask in terms of expectations. Okay, so talking about sex, now you want to ask them, what are your thoughts on sex? Now, for some people like, to wait before they get married, before they have sex, which is the right thing to do, not just in my opinion, but by biblical standards. Now, any relationship that you're starting with someone should strictly follow biblical standards, okay? So now some people prefer to hold on till marriage, and some, whichever way they want it. But the Bible says um in First Thessalonians 4:1-3, it says, furthermore, then we beseech you, brethren, and exhort you by the Lord Jesus, that as ye have received of us how ye ought to walk and to please God, so ye would abound more and more. 2, for ye know what commandments we gave you by the Lord Jesus. Number 3, for this is the will of God, even your sanctification, that ye abstain from fornication. Okay, so there's only one word for premarital sex. It's called fornication, and it doesn't please God. It's not the will of God. The will of God for sex is to, sex was created for husband and wife to have pleasure in marriage. Now, I've said all these things so that in case you're telling somebody that you're looking to date why you do not want to have sex before marriage, everything I've just said, you can just carry it, boom, and give the person, okay? So that's your reason, because you want to please God with your relationship, and because, sex was designed for married people to have pleasure. Okay, so talk about your expectations in marriage. Oh, sorry, for a relationship. For me, as a single lady that was dating, the first expectations I used to talk about was sex. I just ask them. But if I didn't even used to ask them what's your time, I always tell them I don't do sex before marriage, so that in case they are not okay with it, then there will be no need for any further conversation, because that is my number one deal breaker. So if you are not okay with not having premarital sex, then we're not talking. We're done. Do you understand? So it's very, very important that you discuss these expectations before you define the relationship. Number 2 question to ask yourself and your partner to be is this: what are your plans for the next 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years? Now, the reason you want to ask this question is to know if you both want the same thing. For instance, questions like, where would you like to live in future? Do you plan on traveling? Do you plan on, working the corporate ladder? Do you plan on having like your own business? Or, what kind of business would you like to do? Where do you see yourself in 5 years time, in 2 years time? Now, some people do not like to make plans ahead. They just like, to see life as it comes. It's not a bad thing, but some people have. So you can ask them. They just might have it sitting down there inside. So ask them, what's your plan, so that you can know exactly what they want for their lives, and see if somewhere, somehow, you fit into the picture. You can ask them, when are you looking to get married? How many kids would you like to have? Things like that. Ask them. It's very important that you ask this question so that you will know if for any reason they have you in their plans or not. Now, some people might not start to disclose it early enough, but subtle, giveaways like that, as they're talking, you can tell if, the questions that you have answered by yourself about your 2 years, 5 years, 10 years plan sort of, matches with their own plans for their lives, okay? So talking about, their expectations for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and what they want to do with their lives. Now, I've shared an example before one of my previous episodes about a couple that were married for 10 years and did not have children. Now, they did not discuss their expectations. I'm sure of that, because the woman wanted to, stay in the corporate world, get promoted, do whatever she had to do to keep her career up there. But meanwhile, the man wanted like a family with children and all that. Now, so the woman started taking contraceptives so that she would not have children. without her husband knowing about it. She still kept on following him for medical appointments and things like that to ascertain what was wrong with them, if why they were not having children. Now, until God opened the man's eyes to see that the woman had been buying contraceptives to prevent her from getting married, I'm sorry, from having children, before he realized, that she was the one at fault. And when he asked her what the problem was, she said, oh, children would have slowed her down, that she didn't want anything to slow her down. She wanted to keep going up the corporate ladder. Okay, now, if they had discussed this in any way before they got married, I'm sure he would have realized that maybe this woman is not right for me, or maybe this thing I want is not what the woman wants. They won't have had to wait 10 years before he now opened his eyes to see that they didn't want the same thing. So it's important, throw it in. When do you want to start having children? Is it immediately after marriage or things like that? It doesn't mean you are desperate. It just means that you want to know who you're with. These answers to these questions would even make you realize if you really want to be with this kind of person, or if things like that. So it's important that you ask these questions. Number 3 question to ask is, how do they treat people they love? Now, this question is for you based on your own observation. So you ask yourself, having known them quite a bit before defining the relationship, how do they treat people they say they love or claim to be important to them? Observe, ask yourself, sit down and ask, how do they treat their parents, their friends, their siblings, their best friends? Ask yourself. Now, go beyond that. How do they treat their staff, their colleagues, their roommates, a hawker, people that you feel are quite beneath them? How do they treat these people? People should be treated with kindness, people should be treated with respect. Now, also look further. Try to catch them off guard. See what they do with, when they're in traffic, how they respond to situations, if they're rude. Now, sometimes some situations can be frustrating, but see if their responses or reactions are in order and not, what's the word now? Are not taken overboard. Okay? So look at how they react to situations when they're caught off guard, when they're in traffic, when they're even treated rudely or disrespectfully. See how they handle these situations. This will help you to answer the question in your head, how they treat people, because how they treat people is exactly how they will treat you. The way they treat people. You can't tell me that somebody is disrespectful to other people and will not one day be disrespectful to you. Okay, so from what you see, how you see them treat people is how you know that these people will treat you, or this person will treat you. So it's important that you answer that question in your head. How do they treat people that they love? Now, in terms of asking yourself how they treat people they love, now you can ask them, how is your relationship with your family? What is your relationship with your family like? Because it's important that ask them also, what would you expect from someone you're dating or cutting in terms of relationship with your family? It's good to know, because if they do not have a good relationship with their family, it's important that you know how to manage the relationship with the family. You ask them, how would you want me to relate with your family, because with this drama or this trouble that you guys have, or you might even want to evaluate and see if you want that kind of drama or trouble in your life, if it's something that doesn't sit well with you, if that's for you is a deal breaker, that you don't have a good relationship with their family. Okay, so for you, very important, ask them, okay, what's your relationship with the family like? Are you in a good relationship with them? What would you expect of someone you're dating or cutting? What kind of relationship do you want me to have with your family? Then within yourself you can ascertain, how would I manage this relationship? If it's a good one he has or she has, or if it's a bad one, where do I step in? Do I even want this kind of wala in my life? Things like that. So it's important that you ask them, what is your relationship with your family? Okay. Number 4 question to ask a potential partner before you define the relationship is this: how much time, not just your partner though, you and your partner, yourself first, how much time am I willing to commit to a relationship? How much time are they willing to commit to a relationship? Now you ask yourself. Now, answering this question within yourself will determine if you're really ready for a serious relationship, for a committed relationship. Asking them also will help you to determine if they are ready for the kind of relationship that you might want. If they want a serious relationship, ask them, how often, how often would they want to call, or would they want to speak with you on the phone? How often would they like you guys to see, to go on dates, things like when you are dating, things like that. How much time can they give for a relationship? This is very, very important. It will help you to decipher if you're on the same page in terms of commitment. Some people might just want something very casual, and then you might mistake it for wanting something serious. So it's important to ask them, how much time are you willing to commit to this relationship or to a relationship, after you've asked yourself. So it's very, very important. Number 5 question to ask yourself and your potential partner before you define the relationship is, what are your dreams, your goals, and your aspirations? Now, we all have our goals, our dreams, our aspirations, what we want to do with our lives. Now, it's important that you ask yourself first. Then you ask your partner. After you've answered the questions, then ask your partner. This will help you to know how you can support them, in pushing for their goals, their dreams, their aspirations. And besides that, it will help you to even know if you guys are world apart. For instance, your goal or your dream might be to be maybe an international footballer, where you'll be traveling the world. And then someone else's goal might just be to have a small business, maybe a Balogu market, where they'll just be selling, and they want a relationship where their partner will always be available. Now, you can already see that you guys are world apart, because they would not want to sacrifice, maybe they like selling fabric. They might not want to sacrifice that to be following you up and down from football club to football club. Okay, so it's important that you ask them what their goals are. This will help you to know how to help them to chase this vision, these goals, these aspirations, and also to know if you two are right for each other. You can take a step further by asking them who their role model is. Now, this will help you to know what drives them, what they're looking at, what they're seeing, what motivates them, who motivates them. To see if this role model of theirs is living a life that is worthy of emulation. Because sometimes they say, there's a word that says, show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are. Now, not friend per se, role model. Show me who you are looking up to. We become what we behold. Show me who you are looking up to and I'll tell you what you will become. Okay, so it's very important that you ask them who their role model is, what drives them, what are they seeing, what's the picture, what's the big picture that you're seeing. It will help you to know if you are on the same page, or if you might end up wanting the same things. Number 6 question to ask your potential partner is this: when was your last relationship and how did it end? Now, this is a very vital question. If the relationship just ended, it might mean that they have not properly healed from the previous relationship, and dating someone who has not properly healed from a previous relationship might not be good for you. Okay, now also ask them, how did it end? You might want to know if they cheated, or someone cheated, or if the relationship died because it wasn't properly nurtured. It needs to cue you into knowing the kind of person that they are in terms of how they nurture relationships. Asking them when it ended, how it ended, could also show you if you are probably a rebound for them. If they haven't really gotten over the previous relationship, but they're trying to use you to get over, which is not good for you. Okay, so it's important that you ask them, how did it go? How did it end? What was it like? Just to know, ask them to pick their minds to know, how it went, if it was a healthy relationship, who was at fault, who did this, if someone cheated, it will help if they have also healed, if they are looking to get back with their ex. Sometimes you might hear from their tone of voice that they are still, they haven't gotten over the person, or it even be that they are still communicating with the person in hopes that the person might come back. These are small things that you would get to hear when you ask them, oh, how did it end? When was it? How did it end? So it's important that you know all these things. It will help you in ascertaining if the relationship be right for you, if it will be healthy, or if some unhealthy patterns might repeat themselves when you guys start dating or courting. Now, I'll stop here for now. On our next episode, I will still list out some more questions that you would need to ask your potential partner before you define the relationship. Like I said before, where are we going is not the most important question, or what are we is not the most important question. It is, there is deeper than that. Ask them detailed questions. You want to know their expectations, you want to know their dreams and their aspirations, You want to know how they treat you, by knowing how they treat people that they love. You want to know what kind of relations they have with their families. You want to know how and when they last dated and how it ended. These are very, very important questions. So until next time, before we talk about more. Now, I have just started a prayer group for anyone single, married, parent who wants to pray collectively. So if you're interested in corporate prayers, maybe you are a lady or a man believing God for a life partner, or you are a parent that wants to pray for your children's current and future, or you want to pray, you're married and you want to pray for your spouse or for the health of your marriage or for your purpose in marriage. Now you can indicate your interest to join the prayer group by WhatsApping this number on your screen. Okay, now it's important that you indicate, do not say hi, say hello, I saw your video and I'm interested in joining the prayer group. That is the only way I understand that you want to join. It's not enough to just say hi. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope it was helpful. I'll see you again next week. I remain Grace Rena, and do not forget to subscribe. Bye for now.